Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. Today, we're going to see how to migrate your Java Spring Boot apps to Azure Spring Cloud. Before we move into that one, let's just talk a little bit about me. I'm Saurabh. I'm the practice lead for open source technologies, Java and cloud solutions at DVT here in South Africa. I have always loved programming, and especially the Java programming language, and of course, the coffee itself. I've always tried to follow a very strong learning mantra, to progress in life, which is about staying hungry and staying foolish, to keep pushing myself, to keep learning new things, trying out new stuff, and enjoy learning and doing it and share it with everybody. So I'm glad that I'm getting an opportunity to share it with you. Let's jump straight into the details now. A lot of developers still feel or are a bit confused about what's happening with Spring Boot and Spring Cloud. So Spring Boot lets you build anything and everything that you want to do in terms of solving your problems, right? Or building any kind of awesome microservices. Spring Cloud, on the other hand, gives you a lot of set of tools that helps you coordinate and communicate better between those microservices. It's like a glue that holds it all together. In terms of the stats for Spring Boot and deployment, there's a lot to talk about, but I think the developers world is enjoying using it. What I'm really thrilled about is the right side of the pie chart, where you can see almost around 44% has already moved to Kubernetes or using Kubernetes, and the remaining 31% are already planning on doing so. I have personally used Kubernetes a lot, starting from setting up your clusters to your pod management to writing Helm charts and other things, and using it. It's a lot of work, and I'm very glad to show what I'm showing you today, how easy it can be. Let's look into what coordination Spring Cloud actually helps us do. It lets us externalize all sort of configurations for our microservices through Spring Config Server, and then using the Eureka servers, it can help us register services and discover them through their logical name. Routing and service to service calls works very well through the API gateway. And for load balancing and stuff, they have moved away. Well, internal load balancing can still be done with Netflix Ribbon, but then that is also available now into Spring Cloud. And with circuit breaker patterns and stuff, everything is being moved to Resilience 4J, moving away from Restrix, which is something good. And for distributed tracing and monitoring, everything is now with Micrometer, but you can still make use of Jaeger, OpenZipkin, or Sleuth. Let's have a look what is actually happening, in the microservice architecture and what Spring Cloud really does. If you'll have a look at the red block, that you're seeing in front of you, those are the things that Spring Cloud components are really, working together with all the microservices that you see in the middle, in the blue block. And then you have your users on the left, who are interacting with those services. And then you can have any kind of other cloud-oriented services or on-prem services as shown to the right in the purple block. But this still brings a lot of problems and common challenges that we as developers, we don't want to deal with. Things like managing your infrastructure, still monitoring and running your application lifecycle. That means like creation, destroying, deleting, updating, patching, all those things. And still doing troubleshooting of your application, tracking and tracing, and you're dealing with a lot of microservices, right? So sometimes it becomes crazy. On top of that, security is another challenge. What we as developers, we would love to do is we would still like to build microservices using Spring Boot, take it quickly to production, do not worry about any kind of infrastructure, make it awesome cloud native systems, still containerize everything and leverage on the power of a container orchestrator like Kubernetes, but don't have to worry about managing it or the hassles of dealing with it. And thanks to Azure Spring Cloud for solving all those problems. I'm so excited to talk about this thing. I really like that logo in the center, with the Windows logo and the Spring Cloud, the leaf thing. It looks very nice. What's happening basically is that you don't have to worry about any code changes and stuff. So, things that are already productionized and stuff, you can take it as is. You just need to make sure that you have just configured it correctly. That's it. Out of the box monitoring is pre-built into the Azure Spring Cloud platform, where you can make use of New Relic, App Dynamics, Dynatrace, Azure Insights or Application Insights, and leverage on all sort of monitoring and tracing and tracking that comes with it. It's pre-packaged, and I'm going to show you some examples around it. What Azure Spring Cloud truly is actually a proper platform as a service, as far as I can see. And inside it, it lets you do everything. Also, thanks to Microsoft and VMware to make use of Tanzu build service. and making use of build packs, to do a lot of awesome stuff. And I've got some demos and cool tech to show you guys about that. Generally, what used to happen was the structure that you're seeing in front of you right now, where you have your Kubernetes clusters, you have, swarm of your microservices and containerized. You've containerized them, with Docker images or something, and then you have a lot of Spring Cloud components. What Azure Spring Cloud has really done is has packaged all those things very nicely so that it becomes easy for developers like me and many others to leverage on it. You can still make use of the CI/CD processes and automation from anywhere and still connect into it. Also, you can look into monitoring via Azure Monitor or do any kind of authentication and authorization using Azure Active Directory. And I've got another cool demo for that also. So I think let's jump straight into the demo. Now I'm going to show you how to build a Java 11 app, which is a Spring Boot app basically, and then deploy it into your Azure Spring Cloud. But prior to that, I think let's just go and check some of the prerequisites and see if my system is ready to be used or not. I'm sure everyone can see my command prompt over here. So I just want to first go and check if I have the right version of Azure client, Azure CLI installed. And yes, I do. I have the core, the telemetry. The extension is quite cool, which is the Spring Cloud. Initially, when you install it, then you can just go and upgrade it also as you need it. But this is already packaged, inside your Azure CLI, and then you can just install it externally also and then upgrade it at any time. I just did this upgrade recently, so I have that. Then along with that, of course, because this whole thing is about Java, so I'm making use of an OpenJDK instance on my side, and I think I'm ready to show some cool stuff. So let's just jump into the code. Hello world. So this is a stock standard Spring Boot application. You can see it just has a Spring Starter, a Cloud Starter, and Cloud Configuration. You wouldn't even need the Netflix Eureka client, it was just there, so I'm just still using it. It's an application, it's a Spring Boot application, very stock standard, and it just has one controller, one REST controller, to which will pass some sort of value, calling it, and then it's just going to print it out. But what is amazing is what I'm about to show you. So I can go and pass saying that, hey, Azure, make use of the Spring Cloud extension. And on the app side, I want to do a deployment right now. The name of my service is Java 11 app. The service, I've already instantiated the Azure Spring Cloud service, already available on my Azure account. So that's my resource group, the Ignite 2021. And I already have a Ignite 2021 Java 11 Azure Spring Cloud instance up and running, to which I'm going to deploy this app. And let's have a look. So the service is, of course, Ignite 2021 Java, I think it was Java 11, yes, Java 11. And the resource that I have is also called Ignite 2021. And I'm just going to pass the runtime over here to say that, hey, my runtime version is Java 11, because of course it's JDK 11 based. And let's run it. So while this thing is running, actually, guys, sorry, joys of doing live coding. I'm actually in the wrong location. Wow. OK, cool. No worries. Yeah, now I'm in the right location. So now I'm deploying it from the Java 11 demo app. So while that thing is happening, I want to show you a very cool plugin that is available, which is called Azure Explorer, or it's actually Azure Toolkit. So you do get it for IntelliJ and for Visual Studio Code that lets you connect straight into your Azure ecosystem, and you can do a lot of things in it. So I'm just going to show the demo for it. Tail the logs also in the background so that we can see what is happening. And yeah, I'm already connected actually over here, and then you can see it is showing me that Java 11 app is already up and running inside my Azure Spring Cloud instance. And I can go and actually stream logs straight from there. It will, of course, come and show me which is the particular instance that Kubernetes is actually managing right now of one of the containers. So the deployment is still happening in the background over here. And maybe this could be some of the old logs, maybe from that instance or something. The time looks still real. OK, this thing is still running over here. There's another way in which you can tail logs and stream logs and just check what's happening with your particular container. So I generally try to prefer using command line. So I'm just going to use that again. It just works well with me, but you have the choice of using that plugin also and see what exactly is happening. It is taking a bit of a time. Oh, there you go. So I did complete. So I can pass Spring Cloud. My app name, my service name, and then the global resource is something that you can just pass, and I'm gonna just say, hey, follow or tail that particular log or that app. Okay. I'm missing something here. 2021 Java 11. Oh, sorry, my bad. Java 11. Okay. So you can tail the logs from here also like this. So while that thing is still running, I just want to show you what happened with our command over here. And one thing to notice over here is the use of build packs. So this is quite awesome that build packs have been used, and this is actually coming from the Tanzu build service itself. And it lets you do straight from source, to your image conversion. And you can see in the logs over here, it's actually making use of some of the cool build packs, which are already participating. I'm just highlighting them over here quickly. So the first one is the Zulu OpenJDK. So that comes from Azure Systems, and I'm quite amazed that this is actually part of the entire Azure ecosystem also, which is quite cool. Then of course the Tomcat, Spring Boot, top standard usual one, and then of course the distribution zip that comes, which is quite interesting. That looks like Paketo might be getting used in the background. Okay, something is happening with my logs. Yeah, I did print it out now. So I'm just going to close this window quickly and take you guys to the actual app, which was deployed just today. Cool. So app instance. And yep, you can see it's today's timing. So it's up and running, the status. And if you just go into the overview, I can open up that particular URL. It's saying, of course, there's no landing page available. So it's just the Hello World Ignite is there. Cool. So very simple, very easy way of building a RESTful API, making use of build packs using the Tanzu build service, making use of Azure Spring Cloud, leveraging on it, and then taking it into production environment. That's quite cool and amazing. Yeah, these are some of the commands that you can also make use of from Azure CLI using Spring Cloud app. You can just type Azure Spring Cloud app help and you'll get the entire list in front of you. The build packs that I was talking about is over here from source to straight to your Docker image. And then of course, quite a lot of interesting information that is being shown in terms of details that has been cached and other things around it, and then reusing those particular dependencies also. You can also go and check out some of the interesting links if you want to go read more about Paketo. Paketo is a language runtime library that you get, and it makes use of build packs specifications, to provide different kind of build packs available for different languages, Java, PHP, .NET, and many others. And the Java build pack is already ready and available, which is what is getting used also. Cool. So we just saw one of the scenarios where how the Tanzu build service gets used from your source, and doesn't matter what kind of build tools you're making use of, what kind of pipelines you have, straight from source to a container registry, straight into your production app, and your Azure Kubernetes service is actually being already handled by your Azure Spring Cloud. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't even have to worry about managing it or anything like that. Generally what happens is that there's a user cluster and a system cluster, and all those clusters are already being pre-managed for you. So as developers, you can just focus on your source code and make it much more awesome. In the next demo, I'm going to show you how to make use of some of the existing services from Spring Cloud Azure. And then what we will do is we will build a very plain, simple authentication service now, making use of OAuth 2 and Azure Active Directory services. And we will take that straight into production environment and see how it is working. So let's get kicking. Before I move into that, just want to show you guys the Spring Cloud Azure ecosystem also. It has got a lot of awesome integration libraries. Some of my favorite one, of course, I mentioned is the Azure Active Directory, the Spring from Spring Security. And you can also make use of a lot of other ones which are available, like the reactive relational database connector for MySQL or something, or you can even provision through Cosmos DB if you need to, or if you're leveraging on Redis cache, then that's also available. So do check it out. It's quite cool. So I'm just going to move to building of a normal service. So I'm already on my Spring initializer here right now. And what I've done is that it's a Maven project, it's a Java project. I'm using version 2.3. I've named the artifact Ignite 2021 and the demo details, making use of Java 11. I've already added some dependencies like for Spring Web, Spring Security, and the OAuth client, because that's what we want to use. Timeleaf just as a template engine. I really don't feel like writing HTML. Then, of course, two of the things around over here, which is quite interesting for Azure support for auto configurations into any kind of Azure services and the Azure Active Directory. So let's just generate a quick package from here and load it quickly on my IDE. Cool. And you can see the dependencies that are available. Yep. OAuth client, security, Timeleaf, web, normal Azure starter pack. I was having some issues with the actual Active Directory dependency. So I'm just going to make use of another one, which is also from Azure itself, and Azure and Microsoft has been managing and maintaining it quite well. So I'm just going to add that over here, and here this thing can load. In my application properties, then I will also go and add some details which I need to actually register my app, my web app, with my OAuth servers, and say that, okay, this is registered client and this is the registered client ID or the client secret. I'm just going to change the detail over here to info for the log level so that it doesn't cough out a lot of information. Tenant ID is available for my Active Directory, linked to a specific user group, and only me can. So I'm going to use my own credentials over here and try to access. So I'm registered to that particular user group, and that's the registered client ID and the client secret. This is not the most appropriate way of saving all your information and other things. I would have rather made use of Key Vault from Azure, but just for demo purposes, this looks okay. And then I also have a HTML page already prepared and ready. So I'm just going to create and make use of it. And in here, you'll see that it is making use of your normal Timeleaf integration to say that, hey, who's the logged in user? If no one is logged in, then it's anonymous. So I'm just going to move this window a bit over here so that you guys can have a look properly. Cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this message from here. Let's quickly build it for local instance. So I can just go and do install. So I'm just going to build this one, run it locally, show that it is running locally. While that happens, I'm just going to go and log out because I'm already authenticated over here. So just so that you can see the process that's happening and what's going on. Cool, so this thing has built, and I'm just going to go do Spring Boot run, let it spawn it up, and then we'll just go and hit localhost 8080 and see what's happening there. And then we will take that exact same piece of code, I'll modify some code around the HTML component, and then we'll push it into the production environment and see what's happening. Cool, so this thing has started. And if I go to my localhost 8080 now, it'll prompt me saying that, hey, now I need to do a login. Cool. So I'm going to log in with my details over here. I get authenticated and it's like user authenticated. So this thing is really going and authenticating it to the Azure Active Directory that I'm using, and it authenticated me. Hello Ignite 2021. This is running on localhost, and then some other details around it. Cool. So now let's actually go and productionize it. So before we take it into production, I just want to update one detail here quickly. I'll just say that, hey, the message is actually hello from Azure Spring Cloud Prod, so that we know that the actual change is moving into production, right? And while this thing, what we'll do is we will make use of the other CLI here. I'm just going to 2021, cool. And I'll just pass the command. You can even do this thing And then you can say that clean, do a Maven clean install. And then what you do is you instruct Spring Cloud through Azure so that, hey, do an app deployment. Name of the service is Spring OAuth 2. I think I called it app. Just want to be sure. Yep, OAuth 2 app. My service is still the same. Java 11. And then I'll be like, hey, global service is again Ignite. Oh, what's happening here? Why? Oh, shucks. Hey guys, something is happening with my command prompt. It just keeps clearing up everything. Step by step quickly. So I'm just going to do a Maven clean install and skip the test quickly. Let's just build it. Cool, so build is done. Now I'll just go and say, hey, Spring Cloud app deploy to Spring OAuth 2. My service name is Ignite 2021 Java 11. Resource is Ignite 2021. And then I can just pass the jar path over here to say that look into my target folder and the name is Ignite 2021 jar. Cool. So while this deployment is actually happening, we can just look into some of the other stuff. So in my Spring Auth app, which was already up and running previously, there's a very cool feature available over here for auto scaling, right? And I just want to talk about that quickly while the other service is still running in the background. Just want to still tail the logs and see what is happening. So just keep the window open. And yes, apps, Spring Cloud OAuth. So either you can just go and automatically do a scale up if you need to, and then you can just increase the number of, your CPU or memory usage and other things like that. But if you want to scale out for some reason, like either do a manual scaling or maybe do auto scaling, there's quite a lot of cool features available already pre-built into your Azure Spring Cloud, where you can go and in your one instance of your Azure Spring Cloud, you can have almost up until 500, instances of your application up and running or different applications, which is quite cool. Or you can go and actually do a custom auto scale. You can go and create a different kind of metric over here or a rule defined for it. Cool. So it looks like the deployment was successful. Awesome. I'm just going to go and check that. Before we go and check, let's just complete this one where you can go and do manual scaling of up until 500 applications in the same instance, or you can go and create custom auto scale implementation, add a rule over there and define, like that if you want to go and auto scale on the basis of your CPU usage, if the CPU usage has gone more than 60% or something, you can go create a rule, add it, how many number of instances you want, and it will automatically bump it for you. You can even make it time bound if you need to. So this is quite amazing. I haven't set up anything like this because I don't have any kind of production load to show right now, but it's a very useful case to look into. So let's just go quickly and check if there is still nothing in our local host, because I did switch off everything. Cool, there's nothing on my local host, and let's just see what's happening on production environment now with the changes that we did. And cool, there you go. Hello from Azure Spring Cloud Prod. Awesome. I can log out and there it is. So let's just move on to the next demo, which is more around the Spring Pet Clinic microservices on Azure Spring Cloud. Now, this is a very well-known project, in the open source Spring community, and a lot of work has been done on this thing. I've already preset everything, to show you guys. So I'm going to take you guys through what has happened. Is the existing same source code that is available. So what generally happens in that is that you have an API gateway which connects to 3 different microservices: customer service, web services, and visit services. Everything else that you see in the green block, those are all the Spring Cloud components. Now, I did run the entire thing locally, and believe me, it did run well, but the thing is that there's a lot of management of things that you have to do, starting from your servers to your services to management of your ports. Now imagine doing something like that on a production environment while still delivering things, fixing things, enhancing it, scaling it, and many others. It becomes quite challenging. And I think that's where Azure Spring Cloud becomes so amazing in helping us do that. It actually gave me so much of time also that I was able to build a nice, good dashboard, and add some of the cool metrics in it, like in terms of analytics, what kind of resources are coming up, what kind of services am I monitoring and looking into, different max CPU cycles or CPU usage, what's happening with my Tomcat errors or anything like that around it with my JVM, and of course the entire application map of my services. So this is the other instance of my Azure Spring Cloud, and I have all my services up and running in here. These are the 3 microservices that I was talking about: customer service, web service, visit service. And then of course you have your admin server and the API gateway as part of it. I also provisioned the config server, which actually comes pre-built into Azure Spring Cloud. I didn't have to do anything. I just made use of one of my GitHub projects over there to externalize the configurations that was needed. And that's it. You can come and add custom ones also here, or you can just pass a Git repository detail over there and then make use of it. In the background, I'm provisioning everything with the MySQL server. So I'm leveraging on Azure database for MySQL server. So I already have a connection into that. I'll show you what's happening on production now. So this is the pet clinic. You can go and search and see everybody over here. I am one of the visitors, and I've got 3 pets over here. I can go and say that, hey, maybe I want to adapt another new pet. So I'll just call the new pet. And I'm a dog person, so date is 10 maybe, month 07, 10. Cool. So now for me, there are 4 pets available, and maybe I can go and add a visit also to say that, hey, vaccination. And then also there's a list of veterinarians that you can go and check. And let's see what actually happened in the backend with the database. So I'm already connected into the MySQL instance, and I have a SQL query over here. I'm just going to run it. So right now, initially I had 3 pets. Now you can see the new pet has also come through. Dog, who's the owner, me. So it's quite handy, like in terms of what is available. And Azure Spring Cloud lets you do a lot of these things already and provision so many things for you. It's quite amazing. Another feature that I want to talk about is the, like different kind of diagnostics that you can run. And this is quite cool, where you can go and choose to say that, hey, I just want to go and check what is happening with my config server health check. And it will go and run and do some checks and other things around it, and it will also give you a report. But it becomes so handy from an infrastructure management point of view and things that are running in production environment as to what is happening with it. And bam, there you go. Everything is in place. So you don't have to worry about leveraging or managing your infrastructure, the hustle and bustle of things around that, are things working properly or not. You can just use it out of the box. Next one is around the monitoring and the matrix around it. You can go and choose things like, hey, what kind of matrix is available for my Azure Spring Cloud instance? I want to go and check the app status for the CPU usage, and then just add it, and instantly you can start to have some nice graphs and other things prepared over here. Still works very well in terms of collection of matrix and monitoring of information. On the application map side of things, you will see there is a lot of services available over here, and it gives a very good breakdown, and you can drill down into these details also. Like you can go into the customer service and actually see that, hey, which are my slowest services, what is happening with it. You can go and investigate performance related to them also. And many other information is part of that, which is quite cool. If you're doing proper log management and stuff, there is, it's called KQL, Custo Query Language, that you can use and do a lot of data mining, as part of your log management and other things like that, and see what's happening with it. And yeah, the last thing is just on the pricing part of stuff. I am using a production grade instance, which is giving me 16 CPU and 32 GB of memory. And I think the price that you pay over here, and everything else, and all the awesome features that you're getting from Spring Cloud, from Azure Spring Cloud, is quite awesome. So that's in a nutshell from my side. And here are some of the training and learning materials and links available. We will also be sending out a handout with all sort of informations and links, and quite interesting. And the floor is open for Q&A if possible. Thanks, guys.